your task for this week. So by now we are on to task 5. So you should have done tasks 1 to 4 so far. So task 1, if you remember, was the investigating the context with the mind maps. Task 2 was where you looked at who might be your primary user and stakeholders for your product that you're making. And task 3 was a survey or questionnaire. Task 4, which you did last week, was a mood board highlighting issues to do with that context. So we are now moving on to task 5. Okay, so task 5 is a design brief. Okay, now a design brief is basically all about deciding what design problem you are going to be trying to solve and who you're going to be solving it for. So all of the work that you've done previous to this should help you when you're deciding what your design brief is going to be. So you did highlight a few issues on your mind maps. So you thought about what problems already existed to do with that context. So you are now thinking about your chosen primary user, so the person that you are going to be making this product for, and what issue you might be making the product to solve, but it should be relevant to that particular person. Okay, so you are not at this stage saying what product you're making, because we shouldn't know. Okay, so the idea of this whole process is that you choose the problem you want to solve, the person that you're going to make it for, the person you're going to solve the problem for. You think about what sort of things it needs to do, how it's going to be successful, and then we get on to the designing. At this point, you shouldn't know what exact thing it is, just what it's going to solve. Okay, so a few different pages on here then. So this one was just a brief outline, and then your next page is a bit of detail about what should be included on your design brief page. Then I've got an example page to show you so that you can see what's included. And then on the third slide, there is a copy of the page from the OCR textbook that we'll use in the classrooms, that just explains from the exam board what they are expecting to see for that section. Okay, so design brief then. So this is a page that outlines an open brief that clearly states the problem to be solved within the chosen context. So for instance, if you've chosen everyday activities, your brief should outline a problem to do with everyday activities. So it needs to be relevant to the context that you've picked and your primary user and stakeholder. Okay, but like I said before, you are not focusing on an actual product, just the problem at this stage. So as well as choosing your brief, your design brief, on this page you can also explain why you've picked that one. Have a look at some others, some potential other ones that you might have done, but you've rejected them, and explain why you're not doing them. Names and details of your primary user and stakeholders should be considered and put onto this page. And then any challenges and key issues you might have when you're designing a product to solve this problem. Okay, so if I go through a very quick example, so this is not any of those 3 contexts that you guys picked, obviously, because I don't want you to copy it. I want to give you an example, but I don't want people to copy the work. So this is one that I did for the context of security. Okay, so right at the beginning, I did a mind map about security, thought about all the other different people that it might affect, different locations, and so on. So I eventually decided that my primary user, so if you look here, I'll just make this slide a little bit bigger for you. So my primary user, I actually chose to be my mum, okay? And the reason that I chose her was because she was a member of a dog walking group and a keen rambler. So she was on her own quite a lot, going and doing these things. So this is why I chose her. So I've named her here and I've said why I've picked her. Underneath that, I've decided who the stakeholders might be. So like I said to you, anybody with an interest in that product. So I've said here, to make sure my product is suitable, I have chosen a specific user, which is this person, but I'm also considering any needs of stakeholders. So anybody with an interest in the product. So I've listed my primary user with her name, and then I've listed some of the stakeholders that might have an interest. So if I was to make a product to do this, other dog walkers would be interested, shop owners, walkers, hikers, police, because it's to do with security, other security experts, manufacturers, Facebook groups, Okay, so that's that one little section that needs to be included. Possible ideas. So I did this, I did this on paper. So I wrote down a few different ideas for a brief, and then decided why I shouldn't do them. So some of my possibilities were reduced mobile phone theft when left on tables in pubs and restaurants. So that was one problem I highlighted, that when people leave their phones out on a table, they can quite easily get stolen. So in green, I wrote why I could do that. I thought because it could be quite a small, discrete product. But then a downside of it would be difficult to attach to a phone. It would be difficult to attach to make something that's that small. So the next one, try to reduce house break-ins at weak points, so windows and conservatories. So that was another issue to do with security. So a good reason I thought of to do that was that if I made something that was visible on windows in houses, then it might put intruders off. But a downside of it is that aesthetically it would need to look really good so that it didn't look bad on the windows of a house, which might be quite difficult again for me to do, and not everybody's taste is the same. So all I did in that list there is I came up with a few different ideas for a problem and decided what was good about doing it and what was bad about doing it. So eventually this one at the bottom, look, help people feel more secure if walking dogs alone or at night. So the good parts about that were it would increase personal safety, and it would encourage more people to walk even if alone. And the downside, it would need to be quite powerful and easily accessible, but I thought that wasn't a big downside because I probably could address that issue. So because that was the one that I liked, I then turned it into what we call a design brief. So this is the main problem that I am going to make a product to solve. So my design brief was design a product that will allow people walking alone or at night with their dog to feel more secure. It should be able to be placed on different parts of the body if needed and suitable for a variety of situations and users. Okay, so even though it's suitable for a variety of different people, I've said it does need to be suitable for that particular group or that particular person. So somebody walking alone or at night with their dog. Okay, so that is my design brief. That's the one that I've chosen to do. So that's what I will be ultimately making this product for eventually. So that's my design brief. I then included a photograph of my primary user and just explained a little bit about why I would pick her as a primary user and a little bit more information there. And then I also looked at some statistics for the area that she lives and the area that she walks in, to find out if theft was an issue, to make sure that the products that I was making, so theft or people being mugged, things like that, whether that would be a problem, because obviously if it's not a problem, then the product's useless. So I did have a look at the area that she would walk in. So you can see there theft from the person, so personal theft is quite high. There's quite a lot of crimes to do with that. So I figured, well, that then would be a good product because it obviously is an issue. So they're the different things that you are aiming to include on this page. So your main thing is your design brief. You need to have your primary user and stakeholders listed, a few different ideas for other briefs that you are not going to do, and then a little bit more information if possible. Okay, the last page, this is the page out of the textbook that OCR give us, well, that we buy from OCR, that you'll be able to use. Now, obviously it's quite small, but if you click on it, once you open the PowerPoint, you can make it a little bit bigger. It's not amazingly easy to read, but there is nothing on there that isn't on that last example. Okay, so there's a little bit extra information at the top, but you can see they've done the same thing. So they've done a list of possible briefs, primary user and stakeholders, a little bit of additional information, and their design brief there. Okay, so there is nothing different really on that page, but I thought it would be useful to include it just in case. So that is your task for this week. Now, there's quite a lot of information included there, so please do use the example to help. If you are confused at all, then you need to email me or get a message to me and I can ring you. So the design brief, just to reiterate, is the problem that you are going to be solving as a designer. So you're highlighting a particular problem that exists and you are talking about it and just explaining it. You're not saying, I'm going to make an alarm or I'm going to make a speaker. That is not the idea of a design brief. Okay? Right. I hope you get on okay with that. If you have any problems, like I say, then please email me or get a message to me and I can call you and go through it. But yeah, hopefully this video is okay as well. Good luck.